Alright, so I've only gone live once before, so bear with me. I'm still trying to get the hang of this, but what I wanted to talk about tonight is something that I spoke about. I gave a speech about at Malcolm X Day, and I did a interview with New Mexico In Depth about this topic of our federal government manufacturing crime against us, the citizens of America, especially those with black and brown bodies who are primarily defenseless and voiceless in this process. So many who can't even afford counsel to defend themselves. So the law office that I work for, we had just finished concluding a 2-week-long federal trial. The two defendants that were that we represented in this case are they are Mexican Americans. They're here on visas, but they have an established life here in America. Let me give a few of the facts. So these two gentlemen, one of them who he trains horses and he hustles all of his time that he's been here in America. He puts his cash into a pan in his kitchen is how he saves his money. These two men, their daughter in Mexico, their adult daughter, was threatened by the cartel, and they were told that if they didn't comply and they didn't follow the instructions for what they were given by a cartel member who was calling from Mexico, that their daughter would be killed and tortured and dead. And so through that duress, he complied. He went to go meet these people on what he was forced to do a drug buy with his own money. He had saved up $150,000 of his own life savings that he had, and he went and he went to go meet basically what he felt like the cartel was extorting him for the money that he had. They go over there, they go to meet them, and when they get there, they're federal undercover agents. So I wish that there was some way that we could have publicized this entire trial, because it is precise evidence about how much our government, our federal government, is working with actual cartel, the actual drug dealers. And then they manufacture crimes in our community and try to make the public believe that somehow they're fighting crime, or somehow they're this is all making us safer. And so the cartel sets these men up to go and do this. They order them under duress, under threats to their family. They go there, and they're federal agents who appear there with 6 kilos of cocaine to take this man's money. And this is what they're on trial for. So they didn't have drugs. They weren't selling drugs. They have no history. These men are in their 40s, and they have no history of selling drugs ever, no felony. And yet they're the ones that are standing trial right now, trying to fight for their lives, because our federal government showed up and 6 kilos of cocaine and manufactured this crime. Our federal government is who attempted to create this crime. And I just, as I watched it, and this jury somehow the thing that really struck me, sitting in this courtroom, watching these jurors, watching this prosecutor, this U.S. prosecutor, present his case, is how comfortable everybody was with this idea that the government is taking drugs and setting people up to manufacture crimes against American citizens. And all I kept thinking about was, how can any logical person think that our government selling drugs somehow is law enforcement, or is somehow making our communities safe, or is somehow fighting crime. Our government selling drugs to citizens and setting to feed black and brown bodies into the system is not, I think, in like any element. And when I think about it, the thing that was missing this entire trial, and like I spoke about other cases similar to this where federal agents and manufactured crimes, and all I could think about was, in this whole dynamic, are we seeing justice, or any element of justice? Government agents going into the community and selling drugs to the community is not fighting crime, and it's not making us any safer. All it's doing is feeding our bodies into this system over and over again, and it's in the federal system where there's mandatory minimums, so it's not even like there's a judge that can even discretion or evaluate the situation and issue a fair sentence, or you could even argue for a fair sentence, because crimes carry mandatory minimums. And all I could think about was how the element of justice is missing from our justice system. And I just felt so sad, and all I could do was hug his young daughter, who was sitting in the courtroom as this jury of 12 who they call their peers, although they were all white, middle-aged people, with the exception of two, and this is supposed to be a jury of their peers. And as we went through the trial, there were elements where one of the defendants is a Spanish speaker, and so it had to be translated, and there was a translator there translating in court, but you could see that the jury was completely turned off or tuned out to that part of the trial.